Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Phillies Sports Reports Phillies Pregame Live. I'm Colin Daly. Unfortunately, Benjamin Goldstein cannot be with us tonight. He is actually on a trek down to Citizens Bank Park with the Fandemic crew, so I am riding solo tonight. We were hoping to check in with him while he was down there. Unfortunately, that plan did not pan out. But we have a very exciting game on tap. Aaron Nola and Miles Michaelis will be facing off this evening against the Phillies and the Cardinals. I'm very excited for tonight's matchup, mainly because we see Aaron Nola pitch. And whenever we see Aaron Nola pitch, that is always a very good night. Aaron Nola is coming into today's start with a 3.25 ERA, a very solid season for the veteran right-hander. And he will be opposed, like I said earlier, by Miles Michaelis. Miles Michaelis is in the same boat. He's having a career year, a 12-14 record, but that does not define his 3.28 ERA. He was a National League All-Star this season. And this is, I said it once and I'll say it again, and I want to say it multiple times throughout the show tonight, a very exciting matchup for our Philadelphia Phillies. So I would like to begin by getting into our SeatGeek standout stats, switch up the order a little bit tonight. And I'm going to focus on our Castellanos and Harper. And my reason being for that is Nick Castellanos and Bryce Harper have had a lot of success against Miles Michaelis in 2022. Harper and Castellanos are combined 8 for 25 with a double and 3 home runs. So I would expect to see a lot from them here tonight. Again, Phillies-Cardinals coming up to you in about 25 minutes. This is a very good matchup here. We've got a strong Cardinals lineup, and I pointed this out on Twitter for those of you who follow me. The Twitter username is right there. So the Cardinals yesterday, we saw them. They made some errors in the ninth inning behind Ryan Helsley. They had to go to Andre Palante. Those errors continued. But the Cardinals are going with a different approach today. They are putting Juan Yepez, who hit the 2-run go-ahead pinch hit home run, and that was the 7th inning. This is in game 1, of course. They added him to the lineup today. He's playing right field. So we really saw the defensive focus lineup in game 1. Now we're seeing the offensive focus lineup in game 2. And what I mentioned on Twitter is that this is their strongest lineup offensively. So Aaron Nola will have a tougher task than Zach Wheeler did on Friday. Now, that being said, Cardinals offense clearly did not have it. Yadier Molina was 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. Paul Goldschmidt did not look the same. Albert Pujols grounded into that costly double play. And the young guys that the Cardinals have relied on all year did not have that same pep in their step that they have in the regular season. So if the Cardinals want to win tonight and get back in the race here, they are going to have to turn it around because they are one loss away from being eliminated from the playoffs. So I would expect to see big things out of the Cardinals offense tonight, but I do think that the Phillies offense, which will be led by Harper and Castellanos, should be able to overcome this. Now, we have seen in game 1 that the Cardinals offense was not strong, the Phillies offense was not strong. They both got a little bit lucky. Well, I shouldn't say the Cardinals got lucky. The Phillies got lucky with the runs that they scored. So I would expect very big things out of the heart of this Phillies order tonight. And I do think that they're going to eventually move on. That's my prediction for tonight's ball game. I think the Phillies have what it takes to keep going and advance the division series. I do not think we will get to a game 3. If I had to envision this in any possible way, I have the Phillies winning this game, but I think a pretty good margin. I think that Aaron Nola throws 6 or 7 quality innings, and behind him, the bullpen shuts it down. And like I said, Castellanos and Harper are going to be the two that are leading my offense tonight. Especially Harper, I think, going to have a good night. I feel like he's due for one. He's been a little in between, early on the fastballs, late on the breaking balls. And eventually that's something you have to figure out. You keep getting consistent reps. You should be able to figure that out eventually. So I'm looking forward to tonight's game. So this is I actually have 2 standout stats for you tonight, which is exciting. But this is brought to you by SeatGeek. Want to stand out amongst ticket buyers? Yeah, we know you do. Luckily, SeatGeek's got you covered. Their great prices do stand out by using code Phillies Sports Report. Now, That is Philly Sports Report. You will save $20 on your first SeatGeek order. So now we're going to move into our second segment, and I'm really going to look into the pitching matchups here tonight. So, again, I love this matchup with Michaelis and Nola. Again, so it's going to be a great game. I'm so excited that I can't even talk fluidly here. Aaron Nola, a right-hander, Miles Michaelis, right-hander, different arm angle the Phillies will be seeing compared to what they saw when they faced Jose Quintana in Game 1 of this 3-game series. Now, Miles Michaelis I really think he's a similar pitcher to Quintana, but from the right side. He pitches to a lot of contact. He will have some games where he randomly throws in these strikeouts. You don't really see it coming, but he pitches to contact. He throws a ton of strikes. He's the 91st percentile in walk percentage. He only walks 4.8% of the batters that he faces, excuse me. If I faced batters, it would not end well for the Phillies. I can guarantee you that. So Michaelis, the only difference with him and Quintana is that Quintana relies on that curveball. We're going to see Michaelis. He is going to use the slider. He's got a very good slider. It's going to sweep hitters away. That sweeping slider, it's been very good for him this year. It's a lower velocity, but he gets where he gets his swings and misses. So we saw his last regular season start was actually against the Pirates. He made an appearance, but his real last start, he went 6 innings, allowed 1 run, and struck out 9 against the Milwaukee Brewers. And Michaelis is a very interesting pitcher. Like I said, he throws a lot of those fastballs. They're right down. They're in the strike zone. He doesn't usually go middle, which of course most pitchers do not. But Michaelis is going to he's going to mix it up. He's going to make sure that he gets his pitches. He's going to use that slider to try to get batters out, and his curveball too has been very good for him. He locates the curveball exceptionally well, so it's definitely something to look out for going into this matchup. In terms of Aaron Nola, we saw Nola finish with one of the best starts of his career and probably one of the most successful. So I'm thinking we're going to see big things from Aaron Nola. A lot of people came into September thinking that he would struggle. He has not struggled whatsoever. He's got an ERA under 3 in the month. He really only had one tough start. When the Phillies faced the Braves, he allowed 4 runs. He had one there were some rain issues there. His short got started to 2 innings. But outside of that, he's been great. He had a perfect game through 6 2/3 innings against one of the best teams in baseball, the best team in the American League. So I'm thrilled with where Aaron Nola is after that last start, and I'd expect big things again here tonight. And I really want to touch on his pitches. So we will see that Nola's he's gonna mix it up, and he has each pitch for him has a job. This year we've seen that 4-seamer come down and that sinker come back up. That 4-seam usage is down in the lower 30s, and he's starting to use that sinker more. He loves to run it inside on lefties to get those backwards Ks. And we know that with Nola coming from the right side, a batter from the left side has a little bit of an advantage. And he's able to negate that very often just by throwing that sinker inside on lefties. And, of course, he got that curveball he can go back foot on, get that changeup to run away. I mean, he's great when he's on. He needs to have all those pitches working, though, which is actually, I'm going to spoil it now, that's my key to the game. So I may as well go into it now. I was hoping to save that for later. But my key to this game for the Phillies is for Aaron Nola to use what he has. When he has all of his pitches working, that's the most successful. Curveball, it's a great pitch to lead off with, and it's a great pitch to finish with. He gets a lot of swings and misses with it. The sinker is how he gets lefties out. It's how he gets his backwards Ks. The 4-seam fastball is how he gets ahead and counts early. The changeup is really his get-me-over pitch. Something I've noticed is that when Nola is on, he has the changeup working, right? That changeup, when that serves as a get-me-over pitch, that's the difference between being down 3-1. If you can locate that changeup, that's much better than getting the fastball. That's why when you get some weak contact or someone swings through it or someone's deceived by it and you're right back in there with 2 strikes on the batter. So that is my key to the game. I think that if Aaron Nola has everything working for him, or really he only needs maybe 3 or 4 of those working. Each of his pitches serve a role, like I just mentioned. So I can see him having a ton of success tonight if he can get everything working. So I do want to go back to Michaelis, and something that's interesting about him is he will use every single pitch he has almost evenly. I have this written down in my notes here. He uses that fastball 27.3% of the time, the slider 25.3% of the time, and then the sinker at 22%, curveball just over 21%, and then he has a changeup he throws in there once in a while, about 2 every 50 pitches. So we are going to see a lot of guess hitting from the Phillies tonight, right? It's hard to see what's coming. When he has all these pitches, he'll mix them up. So I do think that Miles Michaelis has had some luck in his favor this season. I mean, when you look at his numbers, especially his expected numbers, a lot of the expected numbers that he has are a lot higher than the actual numbers. Like against his slider, there's a 302 expected batting average, while the batting average, the true batting average into slider, is in the low 240s. It's actually at 239. So I do think he's had luck on his side this season, and the Phillies should be able to use that to their advantage. If they place balls in the outfield, find grass, find holes, I really do think success off Michaelis could come easy. His second half has not been as crisp as his first half, where, like I mentioned earlier, he was selected to an All-Star game. But we've seen that curveball usage come up. He's been better as of late. He's really calmed down in his last 4 or 5 starts here. So I really don't know which Miles Michaelis we're going to see today, and it's going to be a toss-up. So I do want to. We will have call-ins coming in momentarily, which is very exciting. The first time here on our Phillies pregame show, though it's only our second one in the postseason. Before we get to that, I would like to touch on what to expect from the Phillies tonight. Obviously, this is a big game for them, and I think there are going to be a few key things. One is that guys need to step up. We are going to see that the bullpen, we use a fair amount of guys. We use Jose Alvarado. He got roughed up a little bit. Personally, I'm not concerned about Alvarado at all. He hung a cutter. Everyone hangs cutters once in a while. So that's really nothing to be concerned about. But you see a guy like David Robertson. He threw a scoreless inning. So now what do we have? We've got Zach Eflin who threw. We've got Seranthony Dominguez left. Andrew Bellatti's in there. So another thing that we've seen in Aaron Nola this year is his ability to go deep into games. And that will be a huge advantage for the Phillies if that continues into his first playoff start in his career. And the reason being for that is as simple as they need it if they want to stay in this game. Because the Phillies bullpen does not have the depth. Now, you do have Brad Hand, who is activated off the injured list, but you have no idea where he is. He threw one bullpen and faced live hitters, but outside of that, you don't. Excuse me, he faced live hitters once. He's thrown a few bullpens. You don't know what we're going to get out of him, right? I mean, you can say someone's healthy. We saw this in Game 1. Ryan Helsley, he thought he was healthy. It's obvious that he wasn't. Now they're saying he's healthy again. That's what Ali Marmol said before when he spoke to the media today. So we don't know what we're going to get out of Brad Hand. He needs to come in a lower leverage situation to start to see where he's going to build off, if he can build off where he was before hitting the injured list with the tendonitis. Another key to the game is getting out in front early, because we wait until the 9th inning in Game 1, and that cannot happen again. The Cardinals have a very deep bullpen. They've got some starters in there. Adam Wainwright's in the the Cardinals bullpen. You've got Jack Flaherty who's in the bullpen. He hasn't been used yet. And then you've got Gallegos, who can pitch back-to-back days. Same thing with Jordan Hicks, going to be a little shaky. I'm not sure if we're going to see that. So that's something to consider. But if the Phillies would like to have success, they're going to need to get out in front early, get run. And here's the thing. You're not going to get free passes with Miles Michaelis. And really, the Cardinals are not going to get free passes either. I mean, Aaron Nola's walk rate is actually lower than Michaelis's, which is already one of the best in the league. So, theoretically speaking, the perfect game is still on the table here. No, I'm just kidding. I don't think we're going to see a perfect game tonight, especially with that Pujols, Goldschmidt, Arenado along with the Realmuto, Harper, Castellanos. But again, this team needs to score runs on the board early, get base runners, and they're not going to be able to rely on the things that they relied on in the ninth inning on Friday. They're not going to walk the bases. They're not going to hit batters that are going to score runs. That's ridiculous. That's not going to happen with Michaelis. And the same thing goes for the Cardinals, right? Phillies aren't going to walk guys. So it's gonna be who hits the best. That's who's going to win today's game, and whose bullpen. I really do think that today's game is about bullpen and striking early, because this Phillies team, a lot of people are excited. You've seen it. People are going nuts. There's people down at Citizens Bank Park right now, like I mentioned earlier, who are down there, having a watch party, and that's great. I love that. But that game offensively for the Phillies was not great, and I will argue this point all day. I mean, nothing was hit hard. Everything was just shot into the ground. There was no line drives. They didn't elevate the ball at all. They had one extra base hit. One extra base hit. Come on. We can't go around saying that because the Phillies scored 6 runs, they're the best offensive team in the playoffs. And I know no one's saying that, but the way that some of these comments I've seen of people who I've talked to, or people on social medias, people who have commented on articles or on pregame shows, no, that's not going to happen. There's no chance. I mean, yeah, we have a good offense if the right guys heat up. If the guys I talked about in my keys of the game, Bryce Harper, Nick Castellanos, Kyle Schwarber, and Bryson Stott have been swinging a hot bat coming into the playoffs. If those guys heat up, the Phillies will have success. I guarantee it. But this offense was not impressive in Game 1. Now, you could tell me that Matt Vierling was in the lineup and not Brandon Marsh. What difference does it make? Really, come on. I mean, you look at a guy like Vierling, he had a hit in that game. Really, what difference did Marsh have made? His defense is a little bit better, but there was a lefty-on-lefty matchup. I mean, that would have been setting him up for failure. And, of course, you could say that, he's had a few hits against lefties, some big hits against lefties. But Vierling has been great against lefties. He hit almost 300 against them in the regular season. And then, to counter that argument, you could say, they still put 6 runs on the board. I don't care. I'm sorry. I don't care. I need to see more of the Phillies offense. I think we have an opportunity to do that tonight. I think that if they're seeing the ball out of his hand, which again, I know that it's a weird time of day that you're playing there at 7:30. It was a weird time of day, especially in Game 1. That was weird with the shadows and everything. But I'd love to see some big things out of the core of this Phillies lineup tonight. And again, I think they can do that. I truly believe Miles Michaelis has had luck on his side this season. But again, he's been impressive at the same time. He carried a no-hitter into the 9th inning against the Pirates earlier in the season. And really, Harrison Bader could have made that play. He got a little turned around in center field. I remember watching that game, and so as soon as I got the no-hitter alert. So I'm very excited to see how this plays out. I think this is one of those games I've seen this idea floating around. I don't know if there is necessarily one way to have your gut going in this game. There isn't. I mean, you look at the matchup. You look at the bullpens. They've both used a decent amount in game 1. Neither team is going to have great defense. I don't think. I mean, the defense for the Cardinals was worse than the Phillies in Game 1, and now they're putting Juan Yepes in right field, who is not a good option defensively out there. He doesn't move very well. He is not a very experienced outfielder. So we are going to have to see how this plays out. Now, I'm telling you, bullpen and offense are going to dictate this game. And if the Phillies bullpen can step up, I'm confident the Phillies win this game. Nearly positive. That's how much I'll put on this. All right, so that is going to take us. We are nearing the end of our show. It is 8:22 p.m. Eastern time, of course, 7:22 local time. We are heading about 8 more minutes of the show, and we've got about 15-ish minutes, 13 minutes until until first pitch in St. Louis. Well, they say first pitch. But anyway, we've got your lineups on tap. For the Phillies, it's about what you'd expect. The traditionals are in there. Kyle Schwarber's leading off. Reese Hoskins is his first base and batting second. JT Realmuto is catching and batting third. Bryce Harper is in the cleanup spot. He'll DH. Castellanos, Bohm, and Marsh. He'll be in the 7th spot today, Brandon Marsh. In the 8 hole, they've got Gene Segura, the hero from Game 1, and then Bryson Stott. Round out the Phillies order. Again, I think this is a good matchup for Stott, too. He had a tough matchup in Game 1, right? He had the lefties that he was facing, and we know that lefties, he's had some reverse splits this year. Hasn't been completely consistent, but I do think that with a guy like Michaelis is someone he could have some success off of. He hasn't faced him a ton this season, really at all. He bounced around the beginning of the season from AAA to the major leagues. Now we'll go over to the St. Louis Redbirds. The Birds on the bat. They've got Lars Nootbaar in center field. He'll lead off. He was 1 for 3 yesterday. Albert Pujols, the DH, who just hit his 700th home run a few weeks ago. He'll bat second. Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado are rounding out the 3-hole and 4-hole. Brendan Donovan, he'll hit 5th today. He's playing second base. You've got Juan Yepez in right field, who I mentioned earlier with the big hit in Game 1. Corey Dickerson's in left field once again. Yadier Molina will do the catching. He'll bat 8th, and Tommy Edman rounds out the order. He'll hit 9th and play shortstop. Kyle Schwarber, he led the league, National League in home runs, and he is atop the leaderboard all time in National League home runs as a leadoff hitter. We still haven't seen a home run in Phillies postseason baseball. I'm patiently awaiting that, and I think we're going to see it tonight. I have my money on Nicholas Castellanos. He's got 2 home runs against Mr. Michaelis in his career, and it's a favorable matchup for him. He's had success there. He's hit some extra base hits, some hard contact, and I'm not. I told you I don't have a gut feeling about this game. I really don't. I mean, I can rationalize it, but I do see that I don't think Miles Michaelis is going to have success tonight. I really don't. All right, so that's going to bring us into our final standout stat. This isn't really a stat, but I wanted to throw it in there because of how special the Phillies Game 1 win is. And we saw this win, and it was inevitable, right? I mean, you saw 2011, utter disappointment. We waited 11 years for tonight's ball game, right? We waited 11 years for yesterday's game. It had to happen like that. Come on. Everyone knows it deep down. If the Phillies were going to do this, they're going to do it in the weirdest possible way. I'm going to sum it up right here. This is the article, which is on phillysports.com. Make sure that you go there. Following tonight's game, we will have a game recap. Here it is. So the Phillies are the first team in postseason history to score at least 6 runs in the 9th inning and later when entering the inning without a run. The Phillies are just the second team in MLB history to score 6 runs in the 9th inning in the postseason. And today, obviously this is yesterday, marked the first time in Cardinals history they blew a 2-run lead in the 9th inning during the playoffs. That really just shows you that A, this team has fight, and B, they're good. And I said I was not overly impressed by the offense in Game 1. I think they could have done much better in a variety of aspects. But you cannot ignore the simple fact. I told you I don't care. But okay, fine. I don't care at all. I do not care. But they scored 6 runs. Did they have physical success? No. Morally, emotionally, mentally, it's the biggest win they could have gotten. I mean, you saw Gene Segura. He jumped running down the first base line. Are you kidding me? His feet were in the air. Incredible. So I believe we are about to wrap up our Phillies pregame show. We were supposed to have a call-in. Looks like that is not going to be happening anymore. But again, everybody, this is the first edition of Phillies postseason live pregame shows. and this is exciting baseball. All right, so again, make sure to follow all of our social medias. Those are going to be in the description. Make sure to follow me on Twitter, all the Phillies staff on Twitter. Hold on, here we go. We got Kenny Lutz, one of our contributors. He has a prediction. He says Phillies win 7-1. We've got Steve. Steve says 8-0 Phillies. I love that. They've got Kenny says Schwarber's hitting a leadoff bomb. I like that a lot. I like that. And if anyone wants to call in, it's not too late. You can DM me on Twitter. That is right there. And let's see what else we got. The Phillies will win this. I agree, Steve. I agree. I very much agree. Oh my goodness! Every time I say that, my Siri comes on. But yes, that is going to wrap up this edition of Phillies Pregame Live. Thank you all for listening. And everyone, have a very good night.